Aotearoa New Zealand did not appear dramatic at first glance. It appeared alive. Rivers traced silver lines through valleys. Wildlife moved gently, as though it had learned patience from the land beneath it. The Maori name, Aotearoa, the land of the long white cloud. Every journey has a threshold. Mine was not marked by a mountain pass or a shoreline, but by travel authority forms. Identification, signatures pressed into place with deliberate care. Each page asks the same unspoken question: why are you coming? The margins offer little space for a meaningful answer. What the forms could not ask, and what I could not neatly explain, was the deeper reason. I was coming because some landscapes do not want to be looked at, they want to be experienced. Because some places insist on changing the pace at which you move, and by extension, the pace at which you think. And the bicycles had already decided they were coming too. The bags were dismantled and the backpacks filled with metal and memory. What remained unpacked was anticipation. 16 hours in the air followed, long enough for time to lose its authority. Auckland is a city shaped by contradictions held in balance. It is the largest urban area in the country, yet rarely feels imposing. Arrival in Auckland carried none of the shock that often accompanies large cities. Instead, it unfolded gradually. The airport exhaled into roads that curved rather than cut. Resembling the bicycles became my first ritual of belonging. Two harbors, Waitemata to the east and Manukau to the west, pull the city outward, giving it a maritime posture even inland. Known as the City of Sails, Auckland integrates boats not as leisure objects, but as daily tools. Ferries are public transit, commuters cross water the way others cross the streets. Cycling infrastructure has grown steadily, not as an afterthought. Former motorway ramps have been transformed into protected bike paths. Riding here did not feel like a protest. It felt like a participation in a renegotiation of space. Cycling through Auckland taught me something early. This country understands movement as relationship. Movement is not simply getting from one place to another. It is a way of entering into balance with others who are also moving. By foot, by boat, by car, by ancestral memory. The harbour paths eventually led me to the New Zealand Maritime Museum, where the story of the nation begins, appropriately with water. Here, Maori history is not framed as a prelude, but as foundation. Long before European contact, Polynesian navigators crossed thousands of kilometers of open ocean to reach these islands. They did so without compasses or maps in the Western sense, relying instead on an encyclopedic understanding of stars, swells, winds, birds, and memory. Navigation was not a trick, it was a science passed orally across generations. The Waka Haiki, reconstructed using traditional techniques, stands as proof of this mastery, a vessel that refuses any notion of accidental discovery. Immigration followed, bringing opportunity, conflict, disease, and profound transformation. The sea, indifferent to motive, carried everyone. The campervan became my second threshold. With groceries stowed and the gas tank filled up, I left the city behind almost immediately. Auckland loosened its grip, traffic thinned, and the land opened. New Zealand's countryside does not announce itself with drama. It offers abundance instead. Fences stitch the land into patterns that suggested stewardship more than ownership. Sheep move slowly, methodically, like punctuation marks across long sentences of pasture. Travel literature often celebrates discovery. Aotearoa quietly insists on a different posture, arrival. To arrive is to acknowledge that others are already present. The land has names older than maps. That belonging is not automatic, even when welcome is generous. As a visitor, I was not there to claim understanding. I was here to practice attentiveness. The practice began on the road. The Kaiawa section traces wetlands near the Firth of Thames, and the Hauraki Rail Trail is gentle by design. Once used to move gold, timber, and freight, it now carries people at human speed. The trail itself has nothing heroic, only consistency. Rain arrived, soft at first, then insistent. I waited out at a rural ice cream stop, because some refuges are universal. There, unexpectedly, a brief police confrontation unfolded nearby. Voices raised, tension momentarily sharpened against the pastoral calm. It was a reminder that landscapes do not erase human complexity, they contain it. When the rain passed, the trail remained, rewarded movement again. At the Pukorokoro Shrover Center, scale shifted, guided by Trudy, whose knowledge carried equal parts science and reverence. We watched birds feed along the eastward edge. Some had traveled from Alaska without stopping, hemispheres connected by wings. Their migration collapses distance, breeding in the Arctic, feeding here, returning with astonishing precision year after year. This place is not a destination to them, it's a necessity. For Maori, birds are not merely wildlife, they are keen indicators, messengers. Their presence speaks to the health of the land. Their absence is a warning. Watching them recalibrated my sense of place. The world felt suddenly vast and intimate at once. On a bicycle, the body becomes instrument. Wind presses directly into the chest. Hills demand negotiation rather than domination. Rupture announced itself first through scent. Sulfur carried on warm air. Steam rising from unexpected places. The land here breathes visibly. In the Whakarewarewa forest, cycling became something else entirely. The trail flows, berms guiding momentum, climbs placed thoughtfully, descends rewarding trust. The redwoods tower overhead. Planted a century ago, now guardians of rhythm. Here, cycling felt less like exertion and more like listening. The bike responded when I relaxed. The trail rewarded cooperation over force. This, too, reflected Maori worldview. Movement in balance with environment. The forest is not a backdrop. It's a participant. Each mile carries weight. Hunger, thirst, fatigue. These are not inconveniences, but signal. So we decided to rest. Or Whakarewarewa for short. Here, geothermal power is not myth, but muscle. New Zealand straddles the Pacific Ring of Fire, and the heat of the deep is harnessed to warm homes, power turbines, and remind all who stand here that the planet itself is alive. At Whakarewarewa, the power is visible. Geysers breathe, crawling skyward, mud pools murmuring like old storytellers. The land is an ancestor, and steam is its speech. Families cooked, bathed, and gathered here as they have for generations. I watched baskets lower into boiling springs, and tasted corn born again in heat. Sweet corns cooked in the sacred waters of Parakohoru, where the air itself prepares the meal. This village belongs to the Maori people, guardians of both story and soil. Each curve and spiral speaks of whakapapa, ancestry, status, achievement. A face becomes a living manuscript, read by those who know how to listen with their eyes. To wear moko is to carry your lineage forward, to say, I remember who I am, and so will those who come after me. In learning of Maori belief, I learned there is no single word for religion, as the world elsewhere defines it. The Maori honor Atua, ancestral gods of forest, sea, wind, and fire. They choose not a religion, but a way of standing in balance. Through the whakapapa and mana, I witnessed the haka, eyes white with ancestral fire, voices striking the air like spears. The dancers summon courage, unity, and memory itself. Tapuia stands as a living school. Wood carving and weaving transmit knowledge through practice rather than preservation. Patterns encode whakapapa genealogy that binds people to land, ancestors to future generations.
Now all the items that you see throughout this beautiful space get created over into this side and go straight back into our beautiful artwork gallery. Okay, now one thing, our workers or our students that get placed into this area, they get a full scholarship, a paying wage job, and everything provided for them itself as well. Working Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Okay, now once they make a beautiful item, that beautiful item will come straight inside of our beautiful artwork gallery. Once that piece has been bought, the money will come straight back into the school itself as well. Okay, so the reasons to why we're not government funded, we're tourist funded. You guys are needed, right? Without you, we wouldn't be able to do what we do now. Okay, so you're a big part of our atmosphere too.
Cycling teaches movement, Aotearoa teaches pause. Laundry days in Waikiki Valley became invitations to stillness. Clothes dry beneath open skies, steam rose from soaking pools, muscles softened, thoughts slowed. At the National Kiwi Hatchery, I encountered vulnerability made visible. The kiwi survives not through symbolism, but through vigilance, incubation, protection, patience. It was time to learn not about the Maori or the sea, but of wool, the soft gold of New Zealand. Once, not so long ago in the counting of years, wool built towns, stitched livelihoods, and warmed distant worlds, shipped outnumbered people many times over. And though the age has changed, the craft endures. I watch the shearing of ships, a skill honed over generations. Each fiber carried the story of pasture, rain, and patient care. Yet the tale does not belong to sheep alone. Among them stand alpaca, soft-eyed, long-necked, keepers of the finest fleeces known. Their wool is light as cloud thread, prized for warmth without a weight. And then there are the ones who do not wear wool, the sheepdogs, trained not by force, but by trust and whispered command. Their training is a discipline of partnership, where human and dog share intention. In these fields I learned this truth: the wool economy is not merely trade, it's a relationship between soil and rain, between animal and guardian, between tradition and the tomorrow. There came a morning, quieted as an unopened page, when it was time to ride. 40 long miles beside the ancient flow of the Waikato River. It went through the land like a remembered song, older than roads, older than names. Its waters carrying the weight of mountains and the patience of centuries. Then the descent into the Waitomo caves erased the scale entirely. Darkness. then light, thousands of glowworms, stars beneath the earth, no photographs or video allowed. I guess some beauty insists on memory. I knew it was time, once more, time to ride deeper into the spine of New Zealand, to follow ancient paths where water carves the land and history lingers in every ridge. Here begins the story in the shadow of Tongariro National Park and the historic Old Coach Road. This was once a vital link between distant railheads, a lifeline for settlers and workers who carved identity into the rugged land. Every turn offers a lesson in persistence, a reminder that the paths we follow were first shaped by those who dared before us. From there, I ventured west into the mystic heart of the Whanganui National Park and towards the famed Bridge to Nowhere. This concrete span was built in 1936 to connect pioneers to the outside world, yet no roads ever arrived. Riding into the Grand Mountains to Sea Trail, a journey from the volcanic heights of Mountain Raupeho to the Tasman Sea Restless Edge. This is a route that bows to two national parks. Across river roads and valley tracks, every pedal stroke becomes reverence for the land's raw beauty, for the people whose stories thread through it, and for the cyclists who learn to move not as a conqueror, but as a humble witness to the world's living wonders. To ride these trails is to gather humility. The Old Coach Road teaches history. The Bridge to Nowhere speaks of dreams, both realized and undone. And the Mountains to the Sea Trail stitches them into a tale of endurance and awe. Life led by bike on wind-whipped gravel, beside rivers that pulse like hearts, beneath skies that change faster than breath, reminds us that every journey shapes us as much as we shape it. I speak now as one who has felt the whisper of wind across wheels and heard the heartbeat of a river beneath my tires, for there came a dawn when it was time to ride the Aotearoa River ride. The trail stretched before me, following the great Waikato River, the longest river in New Zealand. Under my tires, the surface felt firm and steady, about 3 meters wide, welcoming all riders. Here, the Waikato River's voice wasn't distant. It crawled into every bend of the trail, at times rushing, at times serene, but always whispering presence and continuity. I met rural and urban places alike, where cafes and riverside towns feel like old friends welcoming you to rest and reflect. There came a gentle morning, bright with promise, when it was time, at last, to step out of the wall as it is, and walk into the wall as it ought to feel. It was time to visit Hobbiton, set among the rolling green hills near Matamata. Hobbiton was first built in 1999 for the Lord of the Rings, and later rebuilt permanently for the Hobbit films. There are 44 Hobbit halls, each one different, some grand, some humble, some tucked low as if shy of the world. Every door, window, chimney, and fence was designed with purpose, round shapes to echo comfort, earth tones to blend with the hills, and a scale that reminds you, this is a place for small folks with large hearts. Here, the magic lies in the details. Gardens are not merely planted, they are aged. Vegetables are rotated seasonally. Fruit trees are pruned by hand, and even the weeds are sometimes intentional. Gardeners tend Hobbiton year-round, ensuring cabbages look freshly picked, and paths feel worn by decades of barefoot hobbits. This is artistry disguised as simplicity. One of the great joys is stepping inside the Hobbit Hall. Within those round doors lie fully realized homes, a warm living room with a glowing hearth, a snug kitchen lined with crockery and copper pots, a small but properly bathroom, and a bedroom fit for second breakfast dreams. You do not feel like a visitor, you feel like you've come home late from a walk, and someone has just put the kettle on. At the heart of the village stands the Green Dragon, a real pub serving real ales brewed exclusively for Hobbiton. Here, mugs are heavy, parts are warm, and the time seems politely unwillingly to move on. And then there's the banquet, a generous rustic feast inspired by Middle Earth. It's abundant, comforting and joyful, as if the Shire itself insisted you eat well before returning to the wider world. When the crowds thin, another story becomes clear. This place lives because people care. Artists, carpenters, painters, gardeners, engineers, all working not to impress, but to preserve the feeling. They weather the wood so it ages honestly. They repaint signs by hand. They repair stone walls, one rock at a time. This is not maintenance, it is stewardship. They are, in their own way, the keepers of the Shire. It is a reminder that a good life can be small, that beauty hides in details, that meals should be shared, gardens tended, and stories lived, not rushed through. To walk into Hobbiton is to remember that we are all, for a little while, characters in our own great tale. One final lesson at the Auckland War Memorial Museum. Within its walls, the stories of war, colonization, natural history, and identity converge. Exhibits on sharks emphasize their role as apex predators, essential to ocean health. Some places you visit, others travel with you, quietly, persistently, long after the wheels of your bike have stopped turning.